Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here. Who's ready for a good snubbing?
Yeah, Hollywood, you know I love you more than what I should. Yeah, Hollywood, well kiss me good.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year. The time where I sit in front of my camera and rant and wail and rave about all the things that were done to piss the hell out of me during the Oscar nomination ceremonies. Now, I will say that this year, I think the tone is going to be a little bit different. Oh, believe me, there is a lot to talk about, but it's not going to be like it was last year. I will say that I am proud that out of all the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, and this also includes Best Animated Feature, I have seen 5 of the nominees, and when it comes to my choices for Best of 2013, I am glad to say that 3 of the movies that I chose ended up being nominated, and one of them did not get nominated for this year's ceremonies, but it got nominated in last year's ceremonies, and that was Zero Dark 30. I'm not upset with any of the nominations, especially when it comes to the films, because I feel that they are all well chosen, but there really should have been room for more, because when I really look at some of the movies that the public and critics alike were ranting and raving about, I'm really surprised that some of them didn't even make the cut. Some of them were completely snubbed entirely. Now, there were a lot of surprises in the Best Film category, and one of them has to be Dallas Buyers Club. But I'm ready for the hate mail right now. I don't understand why Gravity got the amount of nominations that it did. Because while there are so many people that loved this movie, there's a lot of people who hated this movie. And when it comes to being put in the Best Picture category, at least in my opinion, this has to be a movie that has to be liked across the board, not hated. I mean, that's why I'm so glad that Avatar didn't win anything when it got nominated for Best Picture, because it wasn't a great movie. But people loved the artist. Most people loved The King's Speech, even though I can say my dues about The King's Speech, but I feel that it has to be a movie that everybody loves. Argo was a wonderful movie, and it was very well deserving of Best Picture last year. But I'm really impressed with a lot of the choices, but of course there are some snubs, and again, it's just because they didn't have any room. Very, very surprised that alongside 12 Years a Slave, which is pretty much the frontrunner, I'm very surprised that The Butler and Mandela: A Walk of Freedom didn't get any nominations whatsoever. While I wasn't really too big of a fan of The Butler, I actually just saw it this past weekend. I understood why a lot of people did like it, because it was a good movie. Just wasn't great for me, but I definitely understand it, and so many people are talking about Mandela: The Walk of Freedom. Very surprised that Inside Llewyn Davis got absolutely nothing, but I feel that one movie in particular really got snubbed hard, and that was Ron Howard's Rush. I was on a plane this past weekend, and I actually got the opportunity to finally see this film. It was amazing. Perfectly paced, fantastic acting, intense, dramatic, funny. It had everything. And it gets nothing. I don't understand why. Okay, now let's go into Best Actor and Best Actress. I'm only going to say a couple of things. Leo must win, and Meryl must lose. I don't care what anybody says, I am so happy that Leonardo DiCaprio has been nominated for his role in The Wolf of Wall Street, but he's got to win. I'm sorry. I mean, I will be happy if Bruce Dern wins for Nebraska, and I'll be very, very happy if Christian Bale wins for American Hustle. But oh man, Leonardo DiCaprio gave us the performance of a lifetime because of Wolf of Wall Street. And I would not be upset if Matthew McConaughey pulls off a massive upset, because you take a look at Matthew McConaughey, not that many people have really taken him seriously up until this point, and he really is a great actor. And I'll talk about him a little bit later. As far as Best Actress goes, I would be very surprised if Amy Adams actually did win, because even though so many people love her, in American Hustle, I found her to be the worst of the best as far as the actresses in that category. I would like to see maybe Judi Dench win. I think that she's very deserving for her role in Philomena. I haven't seen it, but I know that she can pull it off no matter what. But as far as snubs go, I don't want to say that Tom Hanks was snubbed. He was great in Captain Phillips and very good in Saving Mr. Banks, but you take a look at the movies that he had gotten nominated for and actually did win as far as his roles go, and of course I'm talking about Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. You compare those performances to his roles in Captain Phillips and as Walt Disney in Saving Mr. Banks, and he really was not fantastic as he was in those two roles, so not so surprised. But Emma Thompson as Miss Travis in Saving Mr. Banks, she was great, and I am so upset that she didn't get nominated for her role in that film. As far as Best Actor goes, 3 major snubs. Joaquin Phoenix for Her, Forrest Whitaker for The Butler, and Idris Elba for Mandela. I cannot believe that these guys didn't get a nod. It's just because they couldn't fit them. When it comes to Best Actor, even though I know he had no chance in hell of getting a nomination, one of the greatest performances of this year was Asa Butterfield in Ender's Game. So believable, his role was so passionate. When he cried, the whole audience cried. I haven't seen a person so young give a strong, mature, adult-like performance than Asa Butterfield in that film. And I feel that that movie in general, Ender's Game, while it's not deserving of Best Picture, there are so many things about that movie that deserved to get a nod in the Oscars, but I know that there was no chance that he would get a nomination in the actor category, but I just have to say that if you haven't seen Ender's Game, you have to just see it for his performance, because it will rock your world. Best Supporting Actor and Actress. Now here's where I'm going to actually have a little bit of fun. I think the person who does not deserve to be there is Jonah Hill. I didn't like his performance in The Wolf of Wall Street at all. Basically, it was just him being Jonah Hill. He's the same guy in every movie. I think maybe when it comes to any of his work, the most original persona he's ever given us was his role in Moneyball, and even then I didn't really like his acting in that movie. So I have no idea why he's there. There are so many other actors that could have filled that slot. One of them, of course, was Will Forte for Nebraska, Daniel Bruhl for Rush, Colin Farrell in Saving Mr. Banks. I didn't even know he was in this movie, and I was floored by his performance, because I don't like him. He was awesome in that movie. Very upset he didn't get any nomination for that role. And Benedict Cumberbatch for Star Trek Into Darkness. I am so sorry, but I cried when Benedict Cumberbatch teared up in Star Trek Into Darkness. Nobody cries in Star Trek! He gave me the most amazing performances of this year, and I am so angry that he doesn't get a nod and Jonah Hill does. Why? As far as the supporting actors, I am very much rooting for Jared Leto as far as my generation is concerned. And I also feel that Farhad Abdi is very well deserving for Captain Phillips. He scared the living hell out of me when I watched that movie. I'm really hoping that he actually pulls away with the Oscar victory. And as far as supporting actress goes, I also feel that there are a couple of performances that should have been looked at. Olivia Wilde really surprised me in her role in Rush. And again, a long shot, but she never ceases to amaze me. One of the worst movies that I ever saw this year was Beautiful Creatures. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, period. But Emmy Rossum, for the brief role that she had in that movie, was incredible. She put every bit of her acting talent into that small role. She was so evil and seductive and fun, and that to me is what really makes a great actress, or supporting actress. Best Director got a lot of big snubs. I'm really surprised the Coen brothers didn't get nominated for Inside Llewyn Davis. Very upset that Ron Howard didn't get nominated for Rush. Very surprised Spike Jonze didn't get nominated for Her. Now let's get into the fun Oscars. Let's get to costume design. I'm really happy that The Great Gatsby got nominated. If anything, that's a great category to get nominated for, but I also feel that 42 should have been nominated. Those costumes were fantastic, as were the costumes in Saving Mr. Banks. As far as makeup goes, please just give it to Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa. Just do it, okay? I don't care if any other movie has been nominated. The fact that a Jackass movie has a very good chance of running away with an Oscar is hysterical. And I think that it would be amazing if a Jackass movie gets an Oscar of any kind. Animated feature, I'm happy with. I'm very glad that they didn't just nominate Monsters University, because that movie was not so great compared to its predecessor. Personally, everyone thinks that Frozen is going to run away with it. I am rooting for the Croods, but now that I know that Hayao Miyazaki's final directorial film, The Wind Rises, the Studio Ghibli film, has been nominated, I am very much hoping that, like Spirited Away back in 2002, it just sweeps it up from under everybody's noses and basically gives everybody a wake-up call and says, you need to see Studio Ghibli films because they are just that good. As far as the short animated subject is concerned, I'm very glad that the Mickey Mouse cartoon Get a Horse is nominated because it was very much enjoyable. But I'm really surprised that the Pixar short Blue Umbrella did not. It was a combination of CGI and live action. Very, very shocked that it didn't get nominated at all. I really have nothing bad to say about any of the screenplays. I'm hoping that Spike Jonze takes it for Her. I am very impressed that Richard Linklater got a nomination, and that's just because of the fact that I'm so used to movies like Dazed and Confused and School of Rock. I also would be very happy to see Terrence Winter walk away with one for The Wolf of Wall Street, just because of the fact that Terrence Winter is one of the major writers on one of my favorite shows, and that's Boardwalk Empire. And then when we go on to Best Original Song, I mean, I feel that unless U2 does what they did at the Golden Globes to Frozen, they could walk away with the Oscar, but I'd love to see U2 take it. I'm also not going to be upset if Frozen takes it, but I See Fire by Ed Sheeran, which was at the end credits of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. That was an amazing, amazing song. I mean, I understand why it's not getting the nominations like the Lord of the Rings trilogy did, but that song, as far as I'm concerned, with the songs that have been performed by Enya in Fellowship, Neil Finn's Song of the Lonely Mountain, Annie Lennox's song Into the West from Return of the King, Ed Sheeran's song is now officially my favorite out of all 5 of the film's end credit songs. I'm so surprised that it didn't get nominated at all. And as far as Best Original Score, very glad to see that John Williams got nominated for The Book Thief. Very happy to see Arcade Fire getting nominated for Her. I'm very happy to see more music groups rather than composers getting into Oscar nominations for score now. I'll be very impressed if they actually win. Very happy that Thomas Newman got nominated for his score of Saving Mr. Banks, but 2 major snubs as far as I'm concerned. Very upset that Hans Zimmer didn't get nominated for Rush. The score is great. It really fits the movie perfectly. And very, very upset that Steven Jablonsky did not get nominated for Ender's Game. You just have to see that movie once again. I'll post my review. I can even vouch for a good friend of mine, Dr. Hasline. He thought that Ender's Game was very, very good. And I'm sure that there are a whole bunch of people that can back me up on this. I just feel that Ender's Game came out, went over everybody's head, and I feel that it was very much deserving of some things. I also feel that one movie that did get snubbed tremendously was Man of Steel. I mean, I wasn't expecting any major categories, although I personally think that Zack Snyder should have been given a nod just because he practically saved the franchise and he did a great job, but very surprised it didn't get nominated for sound or visual effects or even score by Hans Zimmer. I don't understand why so many people hate that movie, and I don't think that their excuse is good enough. I don't. I think that Man of Steel was a phenomenal movie, and it did exactly what every Superman fan should have wanted, and I'm very surprised that Man of Steel got completely shut out. Even Star Trek Into Darkness got at least 1 nomination. So once again, not too upset with what happened this year for the ceremonies, and I'm looking forward to seeing who wins. I'm really expecting this year to provide a lot of upsets, especially in some of the major categories. And I'll see you in the next video. Actions speak louder than words.